If you've been a longtime listener of our podcast, you know that I have a direct relationship or have followed all of my guests for a period of time, and I then invite them on the show. I know their story, I know their business, but I want to introduce you to the person who's joining us today because Tricia and I have actually never met. We've never communicated. But here's what Tricia did. And it's something that I encourage all of my clients, all these business owners, executives, and subject matter experts to do. And it is to pitch yourself. It is to put forth your business for an opportunity that is going to grow your visibility and your brand. And I'm so thrilled to introduce you, Tricia, because Tricia pitched me oh my gosh, Tricia, it was like less than a week ago. And it was this pristine pitch that clearly articulated. She knew the podcast. She had listened to episodes. She knew she'd be a great fit as a guest. And she then gave me 3 title options and discussion points that we could consider for our podcast episode. And I think I immediately said, Tricia, absolutely, like get over here. We're going to figure it out. And less than a week later, you are on the show. So Tricia, welcome to the President Powerful podcast.
Oh my gosh, thank you so much for having me, and thank you for replying so fast. I'm so excited to be here.
I think you and I live in this world of like a very low percentage of emails that we send either get open or responded to just because we are in this constant like pursuit of collaborations and media opportunities or partnerships. And those often, like, I don't even want to tell you guys the percentage of emails that get open on the PR and media pitching side of things, but it's very, very low. So no, I think you did an incredible job. I was so excited. And I think this is just proof that when people, again, find the right opportunities, align it, and show that you have invested time in that person's brand, in the podcast, and then make it easy for them to say yes, things work out in your favor.
It does work. It does work sometimes, so just do it.
Yeah. And Tricia, I'm so excited to talk a little bit more about your business because you are a fellow creative, you're a fellow entrepreneur, and you're also someone who has worked in the corporate space for a long time and some pretty significant brands and companies. So can you talk to us a little bit about your business and what was the inflection point that inspired you to start and put on the hat of entrepreneurship?
Yeah, I would love to. So my business is called T Collective. We are a collective, literally a collective of copywriters, designers, video editors. We specialize in digital marketing, brand storytelling, naming, campaigns, brand voice, all of that. We are not an agency. We're literally a group of collectives who just want to do good work with good people. So when we get a new project, we just pull in the right mix of team that makes sense based on what the client needs and has. And so we've been really, really lucky to work with some great brands like Major League Baseball, AARP, Mentavi Health, EOS Fitness, and not to mention Marriott and Hilton and so many others. And I launched T Collective about a year ago, and it kind of started with a couple of different things. One, I was in a job where I wasn't able to use the full scope of what I can do. I'm a copywriter by trade, and so when a project would come in and it had holes in the strategy or it had holes in the, go-to-market plan,
You can't unsee those things.
I know, yeah. I mean, yeah, Eric Grief just comes in, picture perfect, right? No, it always has. I mean, obviously we're humans. It always have holes. And so I would think, okay, well, like I can figure this out, and I would. And then increasingly I would get told, no, just give us the words. Like you're the
Stay in
copywriter.
your lane.
Stay in your lane. And I would step on toes and I wouldn't mean to. And it was really hard. So I just said, you know what? I can do this. I'm just going to go do it. Like I don't need to be in a corporate position that's got such narrow guardrails. There are people and companies that need this. At the same time, I was making all of these friends and connections in the creative field, lots of designers and copywriters and video editors and all kinds of creative folks who wanted something more. They wanted to freelance, but they needed to update their portfolio before they could do it, or they didn't want to do the hustle, or it's hard. It's real hard out here.
Building the business and running the business and doing the work is all very different things. It's exhausting.
It's so exhausting. This week, I feel like actually like 70% of the things I have done have been like running and growing the business. And I'm only on like 30% of like writing, which is so weird. But I thought, well, I can create a space for those folks, right? We can create a space where if you want to be part of this, then we're going to do some good work and I will help find the work and you get to just focus on the thing you love, which is the work. And so that's kind of what we've been doing now for almost a year.
I love it so much. And I think it's really fascinating, the business model that you have created that is a collective of experts and people who are so very good at their craft, but they're not full-time staff. you know, there's not a salary that goes over into overhead. Like you're literally pulling up the team, I assume, when the need is there, when the client need is present, and then leveraging those very, I'm sure, hard earned relationships that you have fostered for the benefit of the client in what is probably a value add to the entire experience. So I'm really, really fascinated. And so you said, talk about your team a little bit more. You have videographers, designers,
Yeah, so
everything.
I pretty much everything at this point it's been, and then it's actually only been in the last like month or two that I really kind of grown to this point of having all of those folks. I think prior to that, I knew that if I need a designer, like I had people I would reach out to, but now I'm making it more official. Like, okay, like you are part of T Collective. You go off, you have your full-time job, you have your other things that you're doing. But when I have something, I'm going to come to you. And when I go
Yeah.
out and say, we can do design now, I'm going to, that means you. And people have just been sort of 100% on board. So I have my right-hand girl, who is my copy editor. I literally send almost nothing out the door without her eyes on it
Hmm.
because otherwise it is a terrible mistake.
Which is like such an undervalued either skill or position or teammate. Like, and I think we've known this for a long time, but messaging even now, especially in a crowded market, especially when AI is ever present, like your messaging can make or break your culture, your experience, your brand. So like, yes, the copywriters, they're going to become my favorite people from here on out.
Oh my gosh, 100%. Yeah, she'll pick up on the details. If I'm too in it, she'll see the thing that like is the great like unlock to make this headline way much so much better. I don't even want to send emails to like my sister-in-law without her reading them sometimes. It's like just please make me sound better. Like
Yes, yes. And that's something that AI cannot do, or at least not at this very present moment.
no, not like a human can. Like I mean,
No.
I use AI, but like not, yeah, I just desperately need her on my team. And then I kind of was being really scrappy for a while and doing all the design and video editing myself for some of my clients that needed it, and that is also just a terrible idea. So
I'm exiting that phase of my life right now as well, we're throwing our hands up and saying, all right, no more.
no more. It's first of all, it takes me longer. I know it does. And second of all, I know like, I've gotten better in the last year of doing it, but I'm not great. So we just brought on a video editor already. Like our client is just in love and like so excited that he is with us. And in the next few weeks, we'll be bringing on sort of more designers again in name only, like whether I have a project for them or not. They're just going to be part of the collective and kind of ready to jump in as things come.
That's incredible. So what are clients coming for you most these days? Is there a specific service or kind of package that they're like, hey, we need all of these things, or we're really shifting X, Y, and Z. How can you work with us? What are you seeing most prominent right now?
I'd say most prominent right now is paid social. Yeah. Now, lots of people who come to me know me and they know that I can do brand voice and brand fundamentals and naming and campaigns. And so I will get a bunch of that too. But when it's just kind of a brand new thing, paid social is just like, I feel like brands are finally figuring it out, which is weird because it's 2025. Like they've finally just been like, oh, like it's cheaper and everybody's there and we can target. Like, yeah, okay. So just kind of paid social campaigns is just kind of huge. Organic social is still something that I do a ton of too. I'm trying to push all my clients to email because I really think that in this world of metas being so like the algorithms, play by your own rules. If someone invited you to their inbox, like make as much of that as you can.
I don't think there's ever been a situation where I've consulted for an organization and I have not included the strong recommendation that like you need to be emailing your audience, your clients, like ongoing email communications that is arriving into their inbox, not that they have to scroll and like happenstance find.
Maybe. Yeah.
It blows my mind that people do not have more of an email strategy.
Same. And I've been trying to push so many, and it's weird. They're as reluctant to do that as they were to go on social back in, the early 2010s. And it's just like, okay, like people asked you to send them things. Send them things.
Hmm.
It's really
Do
okay.
it and
Yeah.
make it look great and make it sound great.
Yes, make them want to read it. I had
Hmm.
a friend who used to call it like spam people want to read, and that's kind of like that's what I try to do. Like I try to make spam people. It's not spam because you asked for it, but like that you want to read when it gets to you.
Oh, I love that. I love that. I have been on this not downward spiral with organic social. I know we're not in the days of 2020 and 2021 where your reach on organic social media was astronomical, but we're at the other end of the spectrum right now for social media engagement. Are you seeing that as well? And I'm kind of looking at both LinkedIn and Instagram as my two primary channels, but it is painfully low. Are you seeing that on your side too?
It is bleak out there. Right. It's real bleak. And what's so interesting is in LinkedIn, it wasn't only until like 3 or 4 months ago that it went like I haven't done enough research, although I've seen some headlines. It's just the impressions have gone down dramatically, and I find that so weird. And then
Yeah.
Instagram, it's just hard. For my own brand, I haven't been able to like eke out anything. For the brands I work for, it's kind of the same. It's just hard. I will say that across the board, I'm seeing all of my brands get more out of Facebook right now. The impressions on Facebook beat Instagram just about every single time. And again, I haven't done the research to figure out why that
Yeah.
is, but I mean, it's bizarre to me because I always thought Facebook was sort of a dying thing, but it's where everyone I'm seeing get the most.
And it's so hard to figure out. I don't know if the I don't have the technical understanding on the back end of these things or from a policy perspective how that shift with the Google privacy settings or the Apple privacy settings, if that all played a massive shift in this. But I will say I think it happened around the time where all of those changes were happening. And candidly, I think people are just not on social media in the way that they were in years past. But like, you want to talk about deflating? There are days where I'm like, oh, I finally figured out how to make a great reel with great like trending audio and copy that converts, and it's so authentic and it's me, and the words on the screen are showing up at the right time. I'm like, look, this is it. I'm gonna reach all the people, and then it's like you got 200 impressions, and I'm like, all right, whatever, fine. I'm just gonna go meet people for coffee and like connect in person.
That's 1,000% what I do. I like DM people on LinkedIn because every time I put, yeah, I put something on Instagram, I'm like, thanks to people.
And it's the same two people who have like been my people for years. So I'm just like, I see you guys, I see you, but I'm gonna go like meet you for coffee or like go to this big networking event instead, and also lean into the podcast. I'm glad we could commiserate over that. It is so painfully frustrating, but also fascinating to see that companies are seeing it too. But they're saying, you know what, we would rather spend our ROI in time and dollars in the paid ad side of things. And also, you guys, good Lord, if you do not have an email list or some type of email marketing campaign, a newsletter, a way that you are reaching people in their inboxes, go do that now. I personally really love Flowdesk. Do you like Flowdesk?
I haven't used Flowdesk yet, but I really want to. I'm on Beehive right now, which I also love, but I hear that Flowdesk is just kind of for an entrepreneur, like it's where it's at. So I need to
For
get
an
on.
entrepreneur who is not graphically inclined or like super creative or technical, like please give me the blocks that I can move around in templates and let it already look pretty. And I will give you the words and some like very mediocre images.
Okay, good. That sounds like me exactly.
I love Flowdesk. Candidly, I've moved over to Kajabi for some of my group coaching programs and some of that. That's another point where I'm like, all right, I've just Lindsay hire the people to do this instead of like making it work yourself. So all that to say, it's been an inflection point. We're in a season of momentum.
Yes, 100%. Yes.
Getting back to some of the clients that you're working with or some of the things that you remember most about some of the work that you've done either in your corporate job or in your current agency, are there projects or deliverables that you've really loved working on? Like, what's your favorite thing to do as a creative in your business?
My favorite thing is to create sort of an end-to-end campaign. So I love when a client comes to me, and so I kind of joke about this because I worked at Marriott for 5 years and Hilton for two, and so I have written about hot breakfast probably a dozen times. Yeah, sorry as you take a drink. But hot breakfast, where is that, girl? So like,
Like continental hot breakfast?
yes,
All the breakfast.
so anytime you go to a Residence Inn and you're making your waffle, like if there's words there, it's a good chance that I wrote them. I heard all the Hilton, yeah, everywhere. But what they would do is they would come and they would say, we're not getting enough credit for our hot breakfast being as great as it is. Like people aren't knowing that we have whole fruit or we have the waffle maker, we have this, omelet bar or whatever. And so help us fix it. And so I would start and I would get all of the data and be like, okay, like these are families or they're busy people working, and I would figure out who it is. And then I would create end to end, like, here's the creative strategy. Here's how we go to market. Here are the words. Here are the headlines. Oh, maybe you need a photo shoot. Like, end-to-end strategy. Do we need a commercial? I've done commercials, like we do podcasts, like ads or whatever. Just
Oh,
and
Trisha, you and I are like a match made in heaven because I appreciate the projects here and there, the piecemeal approaches. Whenever you have the big vision, a complete process to be able to look at the holistic process to make sure that everything is accounted for and consistent. Speaking my love language.
yes, I hate when brands want to go out with just a piece of something, and I'm like, that doesn't connect with like the 87 other things you're doing. Like, what?
But it's the thing that's on fire right now. And it's like, put it out. We'll deal with it later. There's the Band-Aid. And it drives me nuts. And I love knowing that that's the same for you. But also, as a mom with two kids who, like, if we have to travel and stay overnight, you're speaking to me whenever you're like, it has waffles and yogurt and fresh fruit and maybe even some like juice, an assortment of juices. And it's hot.
I don't remember. I think that's why I wrote it like 87 times because like everyone wants that.
Yeah. And so what you're doing or what you have done in the past is you are taking the thing from the big organization and you're making it matter to the people who experience the brand and the experience and the culture. And yes, that is a business objective, but when it comes to like brand loyalty and experience and long-term success, those small things matter so much.
They really do. And how you communicate them truly matters. There's a very big difference between saying, like, come and have a pancake and, like, stack your pancakes with all the toppings and, like, or whatever it was that I wrote. But, like, you need to make it memorable and connect to the audience. Or even if they do care about hot breakfast, they're not going to care about yours.
Yeah. And I mean, maybe you're even expanding into like the pool experience where our priorities right now are breakfast and pool when we travel.
Yes, when I was working at Hilton, I had several ads. I had one specific ad that didn't end up making the cut, but was specifically about the pool. I was like, this is like how many vacations have I been on with my kids? We're like Disneyland is like 2 miles away and they want to go to the hotel pool. Okay.
Yep. Exactly. So I mentioned to you that my husband is military. And so I think for at least the Air Force, at the very least, their like hotel partner is Hilton. So we do stay in a lot of Hilton hotels and are very much looking at the quality of their pools. And I even call it, I'm like, is your pool open? It's a really critical piece of our experience, not for me, but for the little ones that I need to like make sure that they burn this energy instead of running around the floors of your hotel.
100%.
And I think what this really articulates, Trisha, is the value of, and again, we're doing this for companies, right? Typically companies or experts or executives telling the story of a brand, telling the story of someone's experience. So can you talk about why people should really prioritize storytelling, maybe even being a little bit vulnerable in their brand building efforts and how valuable that is?
Sure. It's the message I've been saying for my entire career, basically, because we're all wired for story. Story is what connects us. And I think that if you even just think back to your childhood, like your favorite childhood book, you still remember that story, even if you were 5 the last time you read it, because there's just the specifics and the details and the sort of overall feeling that you get from a story almost never leaves you. And as a writer, this is very strange, but I'm terrible with plot. Like if you ask me what happened in a book, like I cannot probably tell you, but I can tell you how it made me feel and what I took away from it. And that is what brands need to do if they're going to connect with consumers in this era. It used to be enough to just get your name out there, but it's not anymore. You need to have that emotional connection and that thing that sticks. We all want to be sticky, but story is the stickiest thing that you could possibly think of. And even if you think back to your favorite commercials, like I don't own a Subaru, but I'm a Subaru ad girly because like every time they have a commercial, it's a story. And yes, there's a pet and a child, and that gets me too, but like it sticks with me. And that is what all brands should be trying to do.
And I will be broad when I say this. By and large, we're all offering, as business owners, a product or a service or a solution. And it may be better than others. It may rival some others. Maybe it's mediocre at best. But cutting through the clutter and standing out from the crowd and breaking apart from your competition is going to lie within how people remember you. And at the end of the day, we're all humans. And I firmly believe that people want to buy from people, and being able to anchor into someone's memory system because you've evoked such an emotion or you have resonated with one of their life experiences or one of their values. People don't forget that. and it touches a different nerve instead of, yes, yes, I really like sodas and this one might taste best, or like that one has prebiotics or probiotics. The story is the anchor. And I share that value with you as well. And I think you're, again, looking at that from the holistic perspective of a campaign or a business is so very valuable, and something that, again, it's obvious that companies or organizations are not looking at it from the big picture, which is such a gift to be able to do.
Yeah, it's so interesting. I've been at so many places where they would talk about brand, and when they said brand, they meant logo. And I've had so many conversations, excuse me, where I've had to say, your logo is not your brand. Like what people are taking away is your brand. You don't even own your brand. The people own your brand. And I'm sorry, but that's hard, and that's real. People
Yeah.
own your brand. Like the little Apple is not Apple's brand. Like
Mm-hmm.
what we do with our iPhones and our computers and our iPads and music and like all of that, like that is the Apple brand.
Yeah.
It's
And
just
I
such
think what's so hard about the nature of our work is that we offer solutions for those things, but there's what comes before that offer or that service is probably a little bit of education and understanding of greater understanding what it is that we do, which I'm in a season of learning right now, because PR is very mysterious and like vague and seemingly untouchable or unattainable. But there's a lot of understanding and education and kind of this like head nod that you have to get to with people before you can say, this is what I actually do. And this is why it's actually valuable. And I have a feeling that that is very similar with the work that you're doing as well, because you're exactly right. Your font and your colors and the logo and the brand guide is not your brand. It is a vehicle towards remembering your brand, but it's more so your values, your mission, and how you make people feel and what they say in the room about you when you're not there.
yes, 100%. And I fight with this other battle all the time, which is part of marketing and branding is awareness.
Yeah.
So no, not every single thing I write for you is going to convert. It's just
Yeah.
not. Like that's because not all of it is meant to. There are some things that I need to write for you, right, that shouldn't convert, that should make people aware. And if they do convert, great, that's a cool bonus. We'll write these other things that are meant to get people to buy, but they're not going to buy from you if they don't know who you are. And
Yeah.
so we need to create that story first.
I think you touched on such an important part of building a business, a brand, or having longevity in your brand is that like there is no reality where overnight success is a thing, unless I don't believe that I haven't seen it played out in my world or otherwise. There are no really like get rich quick schemes. And therefore, if you're interested in having a long-term, sustainably focused brand strategy or business strategy, you have to understand that it is a long play, and there is a nurturing part of that conversion. And that's especially what I do in PR, because my goal is not sales. It is to make sure that you are credible and trustworthy and that you are seen as an authority, and to ensure that your brand is properly positioned for success. And there's it's so hard from an ROI perspective to have a conversation with an executive to say like, yeah, you were featured in Forbes or the Today Show, but like maybe that goal was not sales. And so, yeah, you've got a lot of website traffic and maybe there's not a lot of conversion, but like what is the benefit of that is that now they know about you. Now they're interested. Now they're warm leads, and you then put them into the pipeline where you can nurture that and then lead to conversion. But it is so imperative for business owners and companies to have a long-term vision for success and understand that not every single word or campaign is going to convert at the highest levels, but it's long-term play.
Yeah, and I feel like being an entrepreneur has proven that out to me. Not that I didn't believe it before now, but I'll reach out to someone and they'll be like, yeah, good to know that you're doing this. Cool. And then 9 months later, they'll be like, hey, I have this project. And it's like, where did you come from? Like, I haven't
Yeah.
talked to you since like the 9 months ago. And you're like, kind of, oh, okay, that's nice. And then they come back. Like it's such a long game and you just have to buckle up and
Yeah. Some of the investments that I've made in terms of like professional development or coaching or mentors, they're people that I've followed for years, but I wasn't in a place in my personal life or my business where I was ready to make that investment. But when I was like, I know exactly who I'm going to work with. I know exactly where I'm going to go, but it wasn't a lead up immediately into that. It was just years of cultivating that experience and that relationship. And one of the things that you and I have talked about before we started recording today was like the power of relationships and networking and business development. But one of the things that we discovered about each other is that I'm obviously an extrovert. I'm not an introvert. And you shared that you're a little bit more of an introvert, which my husband is as well. And so I understand the challenges that come with that, especially as a business owner. So Trisha, can you talk a little bit about how you can connect with people, grow your business, or overcome some of the fears or challenges that come with being an introvert.
Yeah, it's been a
As
journey.
she's on the podcast, where like live interviews.
I know, here I am, an introvert. What am I doing on podcasts like that?
You're doing great, Trisha. This is awesome.
Thank you. It is hard, but I've tried to focus on the places where I know I can shine, which is one-on-one. So, right, like this is not like a group networking podcast, which would be like my ultimate nightmare. This is a one-on-one.
And I would love it.
Exactly. Maybe we should find something like that for you. I'm sure they're out there. So I focus on one-on-one, and I again, and introverts are often, or writers are often introverts. I don't think it goes the other way around. But so as a writer, first I'll start with writing. So I'll write in, an email or sure, a LinkedIn DM or something to someone, and then that sort of gears me up for like the eventual conversation that naturally has to happen, because I also understand that if I'm going to do this, like people aren't going to want to just hire me over email and Slack and like have that be it. Like I have to have the face to face. I definitely try to schedule them for the morning and not the afternoon, because an introvert's battery just kind of like, we only start with so much and it just goes down throughout the day. So by 4 o'clock, like I don't want to talk to humans that I didn't make or marry. So that's, I mean, those are kind of like a few of the things I do. And then I do avoid large networking groups just because it drains me, and I don't find my place there like I would in a smaller setting. And then I ask the people I know for referrals so that at least I have, that to go on, because the cold calling thing is just, I think it's terrifying for everybody, especially for someone like me. So,
Yeah, for sure. And I think what you've articulated is that being an introvert does not eliminate you from the opportunity. It's finding where you shine best and leaning into that based on your strengths and your preferences and certainly your bandwidth. Because one of the other things that we have talked about is, in addition to being wonderfully motivated professionals and very busy business owners, we are also moms. And you are in the thick of parenthood right now with, I think you said, a 12 and a 14-year-old, so like middle school and high school, and that's a different ball game, ma'am. So do you want to talk about how in the world you're managing and balancing or finding harmony, as we all say, in business while also experiencing parenthood when your children are going through puberty?
it is a lot. I will say that there is an element of kind of building my own business and being more freelance and contract that works nicely with these teenage years. Because when I am like full time at a company, I am in. Like I am going above and beyond. I want to be in all the corners and all the meetings and talking to all
Oh,
the
yeah.
people and involved in all the things, which also means drama, because we are human. I don't care who you've worked for in the past, there has been drama. And if you haven't seen it, you're lucky. But like we're just humans. We are programmed for stories and drama. And so I would get in all of that too. And I think I think the last time I was really in that was a couple of years ago. And I think if my kids were really at like the ages they are now and having their own drama and difficulties and just emotional needs, it would have just like perhaps broken me. So this era of sort of building a business, and yes, it's hard and it can be exhausting, but at the end of the day, I still have sort of the emotional tank to be able to hear about every detail of my daughter's day and how it went and the ups and the downs, and help my son with just the angst of middle school, and think about the fact that soon my daughter will go to college and she's going to get her license, and kind of like, and then drive them all over, the place so that they can get to their things. Have the capacity to do that,
Yeah.
because what I'm expending during the day is not sort of so emotionally charged like it would be if I was in-house somewhere.
Well, and you and I have talked a little bit about where you live. You live in Arlington, Virginia, and I spent 9 years in the DMV and the Beltway, and like even just, and there are a couple of ways that I'm going to kind of attack this because it rings so much more true now that I'm a mom, and certainly a mom of 2 children. And I have a feeling this has been your experience as well. Even just commuting alone, that is an exhaustive time suck. And I'm so glad I commute from dropping my kids off 10 minutes away to right back in my home office. But the commute in itself, and honestly, I don't know if I've ever told this story on the podcast before, excuse me, but I can remember working in my corporate office whenever I was at an architecture and engineering firm, and I was well before I had children. And I would always see this woman stroll in at like 9 a.m. and leave at 4. And my very silly brain, I was just like, how in the world is she only working so few hours? Like, and it's 9 a.m. on the dot, it's 4 p.m. on the dot, and I'm like, I'm spending 12 hours in this office trying to like get all this done. I think my perception was she's slacking off, she's not doing it all. But here's reality, and here's what I know from the other side of that coin is like, one, I was not smart to make that assumption, nor supportive. But two, that woman was probably waking up before her kids were up to work. And then she was getting her kids dressed. And then she was taking her kids to school. And then she was working an insane workload at work to leave on the dot at 4 to go pick up her kids, take them to gymnastics, to go to dinner, put them to bed. And then she was probably working more because honestly, that's what I'm doing right now. Like I'm very much in that season. So I think about her so often because until you've lived it, it's so hard to understand that balance. And I share that value with you of being able to say like, my bandwidth is X and my priority in my business is this. But at the end of the day, I'm going to make sure that I can pick my kids up from school and that I can take them to gymnastics and t-ball. And if a shoe were to drop tomorrow, I can go get my kids and not have to worry about that. My little guy was homesick yesterday, and there would have been times in my life that would have sent me over the edge because it would have taken the control out of my day or changed the plans in my schedule. And like at the end of the day, I am not saving a life. I'm not working in the ER. I'm not in the military. This can wait. And that sounds probably not the most ideal message for any potential clients. But like at the end of the day, if you are not living a life and building a business that supports that life, then it's not, in my opinion, it's not worth it.
Not at all worth it. Oh, I so agree. And I have been there too, where like the kid got sick or the nanny called out, and I was like, I'm having panic attacks. I don't know what to do. But what I tell everyone I work with now is there are no copy emergencies. If this goes out tomorrow instead of today, nobody's waiting for it. No one will know. There are no copy. And that's exactly it. I want to be able to pick up my kids or drop them off. When my daughter has a free period at the end of the day, I want to be able to go and pick her up early if I can. And then I want to be able to be present when they need me. They can come in and ignore me all night tonight and to come in tomorrow, and both of them need me for every second from 4 to 6. Doing this work this way allows me the flexibility to be like, okay, like you need me, I'm there. You don't need me, I'm working. Like,
Yeah.
it all just kind of balances out in the end.
And to have the authority and the agency over your time and your schedule is such a beautiful gift that I will never take for granted as an entrepreneur. Now, you and I both know that this life is not always glamorous and it is hard. It is difficult, but I will take this any day over having to answer to someone else determining what my version of success is or how I should spend my time as a 36-year-old adult.
Oh my gosh, 100%. You choose your hard.
Choose your
Every
hard.
path is hard. You just choose your hard. Which one is easier for you to deal with?
Shoot. Well, typically I ask every guest at the end of at the end of the episode, like, what advice would you give to someone who would like to be in your shoes, who is really inspired by your journey? And I know we just gave people like a little love letter and like kick of inspiration, but do you have any other advice for women who are building a business or climbing the ladder and they're also either aspiring to be a mom or they are a mom in the thick of it? What would you say to them?
I would say do the thing you want to do, even if no one's watching. So when my kids were 3 and 5, I don't even know if I brought this up. I was a project manager for the first 10 years of my career, and then I switched careers 10 years in to become more of a creative and a copywriter. And so basically when my kids were little, I was working my full-time job as a project manager and just doing the thing I really wanted to do on the side. And so during all of that time, I was just building up my skills and building up my connections and building up some credibility so that when the time came that I could make the jump that I really wanted to make, everything was planned for me. And I was doing it all because I knew copywriting was more flexible than project management when I had 2 small kids. Also project managing all day and then project managing your home life with 2 small kids is just like too much project management for anybody.
Yeah.
So kind of it's okay to have the vision of where you want to be and know that it's a long game and you'll get there as long as you're doing even the tiniest bit like of little bits kind of every day. Like if you want to be a writer, write a couple things every day and put them out on Instagram, or don't, just save them in a file, like whatever, just kind of be working on the thing you want, because you never know when that moment's going to come where like it's the right time to kind of make the jump.
I think that's so inspiring and it rings so true because those efforts compound, whether it's forward facing or not, but those small efforts really, really compound. And kind of like you and I were talking about whenever the right time strikes in the world around you, whatever, universal thing is happening, like it typically comes right around at the time you least expected it. And you'll be grateful that you did. Trisha, this has probably been one of my favorite podcast episodes. And I'm so glad that we met. I have a feeling you and I are going to be working together in the future. But beyond the podcast, can you share with everyone where they can find you on social media, website, and how they can follow you from here?
Sure. So my website is withtcollective.com. I'm on LinkedIn as, gosh, I can't remember. It's either Tricia or Tricia Mirchandani. So I'll make sure you
I think it's Trisha.
Okay, good. Okay, good. Thank you. Yeah.
I looked for you yesterday.
Okay, yes, that's right. We did connect, so we're good. And I'm on Instagram at withtcollective. It's with.t.collective at Instagram. So
I love it so much. One, thanks for pitching me a very cold. Oh, and I think this is probably an important plug. So Trisha and I are part of Entreprenistas, which is a community of female entrepreneurs, much like Trisha and I, in the thick of building a business, motherhood, and just an incredible community of women. So that is exactly how she found me. There is a podcast database in there where you find podcasts that are aligned, and it has a contact information if you're willing to provide it as that member. And that's exactly how Trisha found me, I assume.
yes, that's right. That's right. You're on that list. It was great.
Yes. So if you're interested in joining Entreprenistas, that is exactly where we are going to try to spend more of our time, I think, Patricia.
Yes.
But we're going to find the time to be more engaged in these communities. It's so hard, but so glad you reached out. Really looking forward to staying in touch. And I hope everyone heads over to your website, your LinkedIn, and follows. And again, take the advice that Trisha provided and put yourself out there. Make the pitch, make the ask. If you get a no or you get ghosted, that's the worst that can happen. And then there are times where it all works out and you get a yes.
Yes. And you just forget about those people that ghosted you and you just glow in kind of the community that you find. So it's good.
Exactly. I'm so glad it worked out, Trisha. Everybody, thanks so much for listening. We will see you next week.